How do they check and make sure that this isn't money that's come in from illegal activities or that this isn't money laundering? Because I guess real estate is a great way to hide cash that has come in from
Mhm.
the wrong sources.
Real estate has gotten smarter, and there's a lot of compliance and a lot of forms.
It's because of that Netflix series Ozark,
Yeah,
right? Justin Bateman.
yeah,
Okay.
that was good.
That was I could take it up to a point, and then I was like, "Oh, check, please." Just got
Yeah.
a little bit too gross, as if like the
Oh,
people
yeah, yeah,
stuffed into a barrel wasn't gross
yeah.
enough. No, that wasn't
Oh,
gross
yeah.
enough.
I know, right?
Right? Ugh. Welcome to CooLife Podcast, brought to you by therealthingdating.com. www.therealthingdating.com.
Polydor Records for out scouting. This girl grabbed my bangs and ran my head right into the speaker.
Oh,
And everyone heard like this, yeah.
When we shot the scene in Good Will Hunting, I didn't know who most of these people were at the time. I mean, they weren't stars. It was Gus Van Sant that directed it. Gus Van Sant was on the floor with Matt Damon's character.
Hunting.
I didn't even know who Matt Damon was at that time.
I'm Eva John. I'm a former candidate for local government. I was a children's television entertainer, and I love this world, and I believe we should take care of each other and have a lot of fun along the way. Welcome to CooLife. Here we go. And welcome to CooLife Podcast. I'm Eva John, and today we are continuing our conversation with Vittoria Gallone, real estate agent from Forest Hill Real Estate Brokerage. Welcome, Vittoria.
Hi, Eva. Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure to have you here. What do you say to a new home buyer who plans to buy that fixer-upper that needs TLC house and live in the house while they're doing the renovation?
Yeah. Some people are brave and want to do that, depending on the size of the renovation that they intend to do, or if it's a fixer-upper, how much it needs, right? So I would say be mindful of the fact that, first of all, you got to decide on timelines and have a work schedule. Make sure that you know the work schedule when your contractors are coming in to do some work. There's obviously you're not going to have the privacy if you've got workers in your house. It depends if you're working from home, then that's a different story. Then you may want to find another place to work, depending on the noise level and what the work is being done. And another one is safety concerns, right? Like if you're around and you have children, so you have to be aware of all those things. So the timeline is a big one, because we all know that sometimes renovations do not, like, they're not 6 weeks like in TV shows, 8 weeks. And again, you want to make sure that your budget allows, if for any reason you can't stay there, or make alternative arrangements. Like even simple things like maybe they're cleaning asbestos in the house. Well, you certainly can't be there.
No.
Right?
No,
So there's going to be some things, or, the fumes of something, doesn't work for you, or isn't right for you. Then you may have to make alternative arrangements.
Right.
But I think you have to take it in stride. You have to be aware and accept that all these things, really discuss it with your contractor, really be honest of how much you really can take and what you can't take, so.
Takes a fair bit of bravery, I think, to decide to live in a home in a renovation. I mean, just
Lots
start.
of people do it.
Yeah,
Lots of people do
it's
it.
been done, but you just start with the idea of how much dust there is, and
Yes.
good old fashioned sawdust just to
Yeah.
start.
Yeah.
Never mind anything else falling out from, under the walls or from behind the walls or from under ceilings as you open things up, right?
Right. And you're going to have to, like, hopefully they'll move you to one section of the house while they work on one part of the house, right?
Right.
And so that's closed off. And there's, again, you talk to the contractor and make those provisions.
Yeah, or get used to the idea of breathing in some 100-year-old dust, possibly. Possibly. Now, as a real estate agent, do you try to avoid selling a house that is that rundown house in a nice neighborhood where somebody thinks that they're, once again, do a fixer-upper so that they're in the nice part of town, but taking on the house that just somehow never kept up with the rest of the neighborhood?
No, I wouldn't. I would show them. This is where your real estate agent is going to help you, and hopefully every step of the way is be sure to give you the information that you need to make that informed decision, right? So I wouldn't sway that, because a fixer-upper may be on a street with a popular street or big houses. It's not a bad idea. If you have the means and the whereabouts or the experience to understand that it's going to need so much, or you have a budget, or you need to be aware of that, and hopefully your real estate agent can help bring all these things to your attention. But I wouldn't discourage anyone from it, because a fixer-upper, obviously you may be able to get a better price on it. And in my experience, though, a lot of fixer-uppers aren't as cheap as people think they are.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Sometimes these fixer-uppers, like, you're surprised at the, at the price that it's listed for. And usually, people will negotiate. I mean, you have negotiating power there. But sometimes if it's on a really good street and they know it, it still might go for that $1 million. And that's, so you have to take in consideration that even though it's a fixer-upper, you may not get the best deal. But obviously it is a good, it's a good way to get your foot in if you're first-time home buyers. Get a fixer-upper, depending on what really needs to be done. So again, that inspection is key. Having an engineer go in, depends if it's structural, just to look at what those fixes and remodeling or renovations will be. Unless you're willing to buy a fixer-upper but know that you're going to tear it down and rebuild, then that's another option. But again, if you have the experience and the means to do that, then yeah, your real estate agent can just give you all the information about that property, making sure that you're well informed.
We're taking a break to talk about our sponsors and supporters. Please remember, you can send your comments to us by writing to info@CooLifeWorld.com. That's info@CooLifeWorld.com. Send in your comments and opinions. We'll read them on a future show. And right now, we're taking a break, and we'll be back with more real estate talk with Vittoria Gallone on CooLife Podcast. RingFitBoxing.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is Stefan Boy. At RingFit again, we're teaching real boxing. We're teaching techniques that I've used, that other boxers have used. We're teaching techniques that have been passed down to me from my trainer. If they work for me, they'll work for whomever. In fact, we've had actual competitive boxers from RingFit, just whom started off taking classes and have competed and won.
Call 647-347-7063. RingFitBoxing.com. Those lonely days of lockdowns and isolation are gone for good. Go to www.therealthingdating.com. That's www.therealthingdating.com. It's time to share. Share your time, share your life, share your love. www.therealthingdating.com. Join for free. Upgrade at any time, starting at just $5.99 a month. www.therealthingdating.com. Because it's time. You're listening to the CooLife podcast. We'll be back in 3, 2, 1. And we are back on CooLife podcast, continuing our conversation with Vittoria Gallone, real estate agent with Forest Hill Real Estate Brokerage. Now, on the subject of, again, just making a purchase, what is your personal opinion about the buyer who wants to waltz in, find their home, buy it for cash, as opposed to waltz in, find their home, make a deal with a bank, and get a mortgage, and have that hanging around their neck for the next 25 years? What do you think about one versus the other?
Well, if you have the means, like if you have the cash to buy, I mean, that would obviously save you a lot of things, like the house insurance. You know, if you're a first time purchaser, but obviously I'm expecting that if you're gonna buy your home with cash, that you're not a first time homeowner, and unless your parents or relatives, or you come into some money. In order to do that, that's fine. That, I think cash still rules, I think, in my opinion. But
cash is king.
Exactly, cash is king. But with that, understand there's a lot of compliance, a lot of forms that you have to fill in to make sure that where the money is coming from, and so you'll be asked those questions, but you can still buy that home.
Okay, so we're going to put a pin in that, because that's a kind of a big statement, that little big statement you just made of explaining where the money is coming from. I mean, we do live in times of all kinds of, inappropriate use of cash or inappropriate gaining of cash. And so that money trail, how do they check and make sure that this isn't money that's come in from illegal activities, or that this isn't money laundering? Because I guess real estate is a great way to hide cash that has come in from the wrong sources. Is that correct?
Yeah, it may still be, but compliance, real estate has gotten smarter, and there's a lot of compliance and a lot of forms. So for example, even simple things, when I first meet a client, they have to show me their identification, their license, and I have to take a copy of that so that I have it to be able to fill in forms. I fill in forms. They call FINTRAC is the compliance governing body of who's responsible for the forms that you fill in. So there's a lot of compliance work that goes around that for anti-money laundering and so forth. So yeah, so you'll be asked, where's the deposit coming from, and where's this coming from? If it was a gift, you may have to show statements.
Unless, of course, you're old like me and then you buy a house for cash.
Buy a house for cash, yeah, as long as you show where you get that cash from.
Well, I mean, like, you got a house, so then sell your house and then go buy your other house.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, you can if you have it. We just have to do due diligence on, it's called FINTRAC, and it's all these compliance. Like, someone comes to you with cash, then you have to do your due diligence to make sure that where that money come from.
It's not dirty cash. Well, yeah, I'm just like, it's okay, don't worry. My cash can come from either sale of my house or sale of my house and stick in a bank. Like, it'll be very trackable.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Where it's like, yeah, that makes sense though, because you don't want to participate in, you know, living off the avails of some
Yeah.
type of shady illegal
Mm-hmm.
transaction, right? Or money laundering,
Yeah.
which is a serious thing.
Yeah, that's huge. Well, that's huge now in real estate.
You know why, right? It's because of that Netflix series Ozark.
Yeah.
Right? Justin Bateman.
Yeah.
Right?
That was good.
That was I could take it up to a point, and then I was like, oh, check please. Just got
Yeah.
a little bit too gross, as if like the
Oh,
people
yeah, yeah.
stuffed into a barrel wasn't gross
Yeah.
enough. No, that
Oh,
wasn't gross
yeah.
enough.
I know, right?
Right? That wasn't gross enough. No, and then they got a little grosser and a little grosser. And I'm like, check, please. So I'm just like a squeamish little 4-year-old at heart, and but it taught, I think, the world about money laundering in the just simple, plain
Yeah.
facts. It was like a course, like a quick course, Cole's notes on money laundering. And I
Mhm.
think when the world got a little bit more aware, thank you, Justin Bateman, then companies are like, whoa, wait a minute, are we exposed? Are
Yeah.
we not tracking this? So I'm glad. Right. So there is a type of a rule that
Yes.
that it has to be.
Oh, yes. Well, you have to show it, right? So, for
Mhm.
example, if you have $10,000 that you're going to put down, and you know, you'll have to say, where's the money coming from? It's actually in the forms, right? And so you'll have to disclose where that money's coming from. If you say it's a gift from an uncle, or it's a loan from an uncle, my family's giving me the money, you can say that, but it's got to be documented. If your brother is going to give you $10,000 to buy a house, that's fine. But then that $10,000 from your brother will probably, they'll probably ask your brother's name, number, and information about your brother.
Right now, we're going to take a break to talk about our sponsors and supporters, and we'll be back with more real estate talk with Vittoria Gallone on CooLife Podcast. RingFitBoxing.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is Stefan Boy. At RingFit again, we're teaching real boxing. We're teaching techniques that I've used, that other boxers have used. We're teaching techniques that have been passed down to me from my trainer. If they've worked for me, they'll work for whomever. In fact, we've had actual competitive boxers from RingFit, just whom started off taking classes and have competed and won.
Call 647-347-7063. RingFitBoxing.com. Those lonely days of lockdowns and isolation are gone for good. Go to www.therealthingdating.com. That's www.therealthingdating.com. It's time to share. Share your time, share your life, share your love. www.therealthingdating.com. Join for free. Upgrade at any time, starting at just $5.99 a month. www.therealthingdating.com. Because it's time. This is CooLife Podcast. Please remember to subscribe to CooLife on your streaming service and on YouTube as Hellenique Today. That's HELENIQUE Today. Because that helps us to bring more cool stuff to your ears. You're listening to the CooLife Podcast. We'll be right back. And we are back on CooLife Podcast. I'm Eva John, and we're continuing our conversation with Vittoria Gallone, real estate agent with Forest Hill real estate brokerage. And in this era, this post pandemic era, I guess everything from this point on is post pandemic, but people feel that difference. People who are in business, people who own their homes, even who rent their homes, they feel the difference of how our economy was before the pandemic and how it is now. And one of the big changes that has occurred has been the cost of building materials. And that has really skyrocketed from supply chain issues where something is, on the other side of the world, where there was a backup of the cargo ships in the Gulf, or how there was a backup of cargo ships off the coast of California. And that went for miles out for months. So it drove the price up. People couldn't get their hands on materials they needed. And what little was out there, some retailers took advantage, hiked up the prices even further, and it got to a point where there was no turning back. So those prices have never gone down. They've only continued up. And with building materials being as expensive as they are now across the board, do you find that there are owners of properties who say they rent out their properties, they've renovated to make sure they can get a high rental price, and when they're ready to sell that property, now they want a higher price just to get the value back on what they have spent on those renovations?
I would say no, because you can, by all means, as a homeowner selling your house, you can ask for whatever price you want. Unfortunately, the market value, and if your real estate agent does a comparative analysis for you on houses in the vicinity you're looking, or even over a few months of what things have sold for, making renovations in your home, and because, like you said, building materials cost a lot,
Right.
that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get a big price for your home,
Mhm.
right? It has to still be market value. And, when you do a comparative marketing analysis, when your real estate agent does that and looks at two houses on the same street, if he's looking at the two houses and one has renovations compared to the other one that doesn't, well, then there could be an increase there. But if it's apples to apples, like both are renovated, both show nice, and both have the same rooms in the house, it could be that, the price is the price, like for that area or for those types of houses at that particular time.
So making that demand of a higher price, they're really just going to slow down the sale of their house, aren't they?
Right. It'll prolong it. So it might keep it up there longer. You may have to revisit the price. You might have to do a price change, bring it down. So those are things that you'll discuss with your real estate agent. But real estate agents, yes, a lot of times people say, "Oh, my house is worth this much. This is what I did to my house."
Right.
And I'm thinking of an example of two condominiums in a building, and one was renovated to the nines. Well done, the workmanship, beautiful. And I could totally understand the price that seller wants. But the second apartment, same footprint, kind of layout, had some updates, even some similar ones to the first condo, but it was priced right, that it went sooner than the other one.
Wow.
The other one's still on the market.
Right. Right.
And if you can afford, if you think your place is, worth that much, everybody feels that their place is worth what it is, right? And they want the best dollar. But your real estate agent has to show you a comparative analysis. And if they do that and you see, but some people still want that price. And so as a real estate agent, be like, okay, I've showed you all this, but if you want, we can list it at that price. Just be aware that it may take longer for it to sell. You may not get as many showings, and we may have to revisit in a few months. And, you know, depending how seriously you are to sell it, we might have to lower the price.
On the market, are there a large number of unsold properties, possibly empty houses, that were for sale but never actually sold, and then the seller just gives up?
Yes, there definitely is. There was something I looked up, and in 2022, it showed 8% of homes in Canada that were empty or not sold, that were vacant. So there was a report in 2022 that showed that 8% or more than $1.3 million of dwellings were vacant. And this could be new houses, right? New builds. I think a lot of those are vacant still, but it doesn't mean that the seller is going to give up. It could mean that it just takes longer to sell, and there may be some adjustments, right? Depending on pricing, and you may have to revisit that. And you know, if it's priced too high, then it might take longer to sell. So you need to revisit that. But I don't think people give up. I think sometimes you'll see on realtor.com or some of these real estate board listings, you see terminated, right? So if they're not getting any bites on a property, sellers may terminate the relationship with the agent, or, you know, take down their listing for a while.
Right.
But then you may see them up again, or if they've been up there too long because they haven't sold, or they're, you know, then they'll relist it.
Now, for a property owner who has an investment property that is perhaps empty, it's not selling, can they partner with government agencies to give assistance and homes for unhoused people, families and individuals, so that they can have a beautiful home to live in with dignity? Can they coordinate that with a government agency?
Yes, they can. There's a few programs out there. The Affordable Housing Fund with CMHC, so the Canadian Mortgage Housing Corporation, they have a program that they would give, you know, if you had a dwelling that you wanted to make more accessible and falls into that affordable housing plan, then they may give you some funding to help with that, to make it. But you can also, there's another one, National Housing Company Limited. They work with people who may have commercial properties, and if they're vacant or empty, sometimes these properties are turned into shelters. And actually, I believe I read in Cape Breton, they actually did this, and they worked with someone who had a commercial property, and they turned it into a shelter for men, women, children, and youth. And so they were given funding. The federal government gave them funding to do this, which are excellent programs. And I often think of all those empty buildings, right? But to help you convert a building, there are these programs. These are only two, but when I did some research, there's more, and you can look at that.
So I would be happy to put that. So can you give me the name of those two programs again? We'll put those up for people to take a look at. If you have got a property that is vacant at this time, you can partner with government agencies to assist with unhoused people. And the agencies that you mentioned, if you could mention again, are?
The first one is Affordable Housing Fund with CMHC, so Canadian Mortgage Housing Corporation. And the second one is the NHCF, which is National Housing Company Investment Fund.
Thank you.
Yep,
That's-
federal government.
And there we go. Thank you, federal government. There's a way for people who have properties
Mhm.
that can contribute to making a more comfortable, safer world for unhoused people. Thank you so much for that information.
Mhm.
Now, for a homeowner getting ready to sell their home, just from the track record of other successful sales, does it affect the final sale price if a home is being sold that is not staged, if it's empty and just left as it is, or even has furniture and belongings that haven't been organized in the same way that staging a home does that affect the final price?
Well, professionally staging a home, usually people say, and it's been shown that it actually can get you 5 to 15% over asking price
Wow.
if you professionally stage it.
Right.
And so, yes, I think that staging your home, whether it's a full-blown professional staging or there's different levels of staging, right? So I think that, yes, I think that it would help when you're listing your home.
And certainly worthwhile. There are a lot of opportunities and people out there to stage for you, or the University of YouTube. You can
That's right.
educate yourself a little bit on what to do if you feel that investing in professional home staging is not in your budget. Then there's a lot of tips and tricks you can learn from our good, friendly neighborhood internet.
Yes. Or, yeah, I do I give that opportunity I do an evaluation for people for free if they're looking to, they're thinking about staging their home, but I will even do it on Zoom.
Okay. Well, I don't know if your clients understand the kind of resource you are. I've known you for a while, and I have seen what you can do with a home and with decor. And you do have what I can easily say is a profound talent. So
Oh,
anything that
thanks.
you're doing, you're welcome. Anything that you're doing to assist people with determining the layout and the decor in a home will absolutely be a huge improvement.
Well, I'm happy to help with that.
Well, definitely. I'm so impressed with your eye for home decor. For sure.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Eva.
You're very welcome. Start charging people more for that because
I don't charge right now. I'm not charging anyone.
oh
If you
boy.
go to my website, and if you want to do, a 15-minute, 30-minute Zoom call
Right.
and show me a part of the house, then I'd be happy to do that.
Well, your clients should enjoy that deal while they can because I think that it'll be pretty soon the day will come when you're going to be in the kind of demand where you're going to be like, listen, I got to charge you. I don't have time for you. I got to charge you. I got to charge you double because you're rude. Now, I wonder for, part of staging, preparing a home to be seen by the wider world in preparation for sale, you hear the expression depersonalize, right? That to make a home more accessible to just about anybody who's going to come in and to make sure you haven't alienated a good possible buyer,
Yep.
to depersonalize your home. And tell me, what is involved in depersonalizing in preparation for selling your home?
Okay. So just what it says, depersonalizing, anything personal you want to take away. So things like photographs, sets, the reason, first of all, I want to back up a little bit. The reason we want to do this depersonalizing is because buying a home is very emotional. When someone buys a home, I mean, it's emotional for the seller because it's their home. This is their stuff. But if you're ready to sell it, then you have to be open to taking away some things that doesn't scream, this is my house. So some of the things are the hobbies, if you have any hobby things, collections, some photographs, like I said. When a buyer comes into a home, they want to envision themselves in your space. And therefore, if they see a lot of photographs or a big collection of some sort, and they may not get that feeling, right? Whereas if they walk into a home that's got fluffy pillows, a nice couch, a plant, not a lot of knickknacks, but items that are strategically placed, well, then they're going to say, okay, they're going to look at the space and they're going to think, wow, I could see myself there. I could see my stuff there, right? Because it's like a blank slate. You want to give them a blank slate. So when they walk in and envision themselves in your space.
I certainly understand that. And of course, we live in a time where the whole idea of home, I think, is taking on some new meanings. Not that I don't think any of us saw this coming until our good old friend the pandemic came along, and people had a relationship with their homes that they never had before, right?
Yeah.
Where they had to find a way not to feel trapped in their home, to love being there if they were going to work there, and then when the day's done, to still be there and not feel like, oh my God, get me out of here. So the whole idea of seeing that space as their own space, and instead of walking through and feeling like, do I want to buy this place when the moment I stepped in, I feel like I don't belong here.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's the key, to find a way to let everyone feel that they belong there,
Yep.
no matter what, right?
Yep.
But of course, that is something important, and I think one of the subtle things that sometimes doesn't get mentioned as much as it did back in the 80s, the good old 80s, and that is the smell of a house, right?
Yeah.
Now, we talk about depersonalizing what we see,
Yeah.
but I remember when people used to talk quite a lot about bake some cookies, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So walk in, they see their house, and then they don't know why they've got that nice feeling, and they're feeling all of those like, macadamia chocolate chip, right?
That's still
But it's still a thing,
you should still do that. You should
Right.
still bake cookies, bake a banana bread.
right?
Yeah.
Well, firstly, see, the real estate agent says bake a banana bread. Eva John, I say get a pan and you chop up some bananas. You put a little brown sugar and some butter or margarine. Let that cook. Don't burn it, and you're getting
Oh.
the same smell, right?
Oh, you
put a little,
can, yeah.
put a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
flour, like a couple tablespoons of flour. Just let that go. Oh, okay, and you're done. What are you going out there and using 2 cups of flour and 2 cups of sugar? Get it out of here. What are you going to buy these cookies from me? So
Well,
you can get away from that whole bake of cookies.
Well, then-
Just put it in a pan.
yeah. Well, then you can also, have some orange peels and some cinnamon in some water
Right.
and let that simmer on your stove. Of course, make sure you turn it off before you leave, but that will, have a beautiful fall smell.
And it's nice to have those nice fragrances in the air, but I think more importantly, it's also nice to erase your own personal fragrances in the air. So depersonalize some of your house odors that you've gotten. What do they call that? Nose blind? What was that?
Yeah, the commercial, you've got nose blind. Only other people smell your smells. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is important.
And
And
all the-
once you depersonalize, once you tidy up and declutter, having someone clean your home with just no fragrance soaps, just vinegar, water, and baking soda. That'll help, and just make it really fresh and clean.
nobody wants to smell your gym gear. In the
No, you want to
front
take that. You want to take that out.
right?
and launder some of it, please. You know, there's that.
Yes.
Because you want to depersonalize things even if they cannot see it. The things that say, yeah, this is going to be your home too. And don't smell my sweaty socks. Something to think about. And with that, we've come to the end of our conversation about real estate with Vittoria Gallone, real estate agent from Forest Hill Real Estate Brokerage. Vittoria, it has been a gas in a good way. And I have really enjoyed our conversation. I always do. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you for having me again.
It's a pleasure. And I hope to see you very soon. And thank you all. Until next time, I am Eva John for CooLife Podcast. Bye.
And that was our show. Thank you for listening to the very end. Please remember to subscribe through your streaming service to get more access to our guest interviews. Also, please subscribe on YouTube to help support our podcast. Until next time, I'm Eva John for CooLife Podcast. Thank you for turning me on.